Hi, everybody. Psych here. Um, Starting a YouTube channel. Just thought I'd do something that I know a little bit about, being a retired school psychologist and clinical psychologist. Purpose is just for uh, information for you, whether it's marginal or not. Could be kind of marginal. A lot of what I'm doing is based on memory, so it might be incomplete at times, but I'll let you guys do your due diligence and correct errors if you see them in information that I present. Thought I'd actually just go over a quick definition of successive approximations. I'm just bringing up uh, tidbits and trivia in psychology. And a lot of times there's um, phrases that sound kind of intimidating. Successive approximations. Well, I did what most people do. I went online and I got the definition and I wrote it down and I'll read it. It's a method of shaping operant behavior by reinforcement responses similar to the desired behavior. Okay, I think I got that right. Anyway, it's things that you probably do in life as well. But what I wanted to do is actually give you an example that a professor presented to me in the class decades ago, and I think I can remember most of it, but I just thought it was kind of interesting. He gave the example of a professor who was actually teaching the class, and the students had collaborated in some fashion to actually see if they could um, affect how the professor presented his uh, lesson. The students' target behavior for the professor was to see if they could get him to speak only to one side of the classroom. Apparently, how they did this is when the professor would talk to the class, sometimes he would speak to the middle, sometimes to the left, sometimes to the right. Well, when he spoke to the left side of the class, all the students got bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, paid attention to him, nodded when he was talking. They showed concerted interest in what he was talking about. When he talked to the right side of the class, the students were kind of bored, looked away, looked down, put their head in their hands, things like that. And so they did this over the course of several weeks, and through successive approximations, the professor, who initially would talk to the left, to the middle, to the right side of the room, started really addressing the left side of the room because to him, it was reinforcing that the students would nod and make eye contact and make sounds like maybe raise their hand, ask questions, and showed a lot of interest. And by the end of the semester, the term, the professor, for the most part, was really directing his focus uh, to that side of the classroom. That's the kind of the way it worked. And this side of the classroom really didn't get much attention from the professor. So that's one interesting sort of example on what successive approximations is. Another example would be like, for example, weightlifting. Say your target uh, goal is to bench press 300 pounds, and right now you're bench pressing 200 pounds. Okay, so what you might want to do, and I'm going to assume that you're going to be somewhat intrinsically motivated here. You're the one who wants to go from 200 pounds to lifting 300 pounds. Say you do the bench press one time a month and you realize that, oh, I've gone from 200 pounds to 205 pounds. Oh, well, now you're thinking, well, maybe if I lifted weights twice a month, maybe I could lift a little bit more. a little bit more quickly. So we've increased the frequency now to twice a month, and now all of a sudden he's popped it up to 215 pounds. Oh, well, now I've got this sort of reinforcement going on as I'm lifting and making increases in my weightlifting goal. So now it's like I do it twice a month and I'm up to 220 pounds, and I'm thinking, well, maybe if I do it once a week, let's see if I can even get even closer to that target goal. Oh, so all of a sudden I'm lifting 230, 240 pounds, and I decide, well, maybe if I do it 2 times a week, and you can see that through these successive approximations, slowly, methodically, I'm getting closer and closer to lifting 300 pounds. And I've done it in such a way that is very systematic and incremental. And I've got reinforcement going on just because I'm actually improving. So that's just kind of a self-reinforcement that's taking place. That's another example of successive approximations. One more would be, for example, maybe your child is learning to play the piano, and you want to help him along or her along, and maybe you run into a little bit of resistance, and the target is for your son or daughter to play a piece with maybe a maximum of 4 airs. And so maybe you start with working on just 4 measures that he can play with 1 or less airs. And as he does this, you have to try and provide some reinforcement for that improving behavior. And it gets to maybe 8 measures with, 1 error or 2 errors, something like that. But you want to reinforce that behavior to keep him practicing. How do you do that? Well, it kind of depends. Some children might have their own intrinsic reinforcement, and they can see that they're actually improving as they're practicing. Say they're practicing once a day for just 20 minutes, and they can see that as they've gone through 4 measures, they only made 1 error. Now they've gone through 8 measures, just 1 error, something like that, and that works for them. Sometimes, however, you have to kind of provide an external reinforcer. Reinforcer would be something that's going to actually get him to continue to, it's going to strengthen that behavior of practicing playing the piano. So that might be something you might have to do a little trial and error with. If you just say, hey, you're doing a great job, and you're doing a verbal reinforcement, a verbal prompt, so to speak, and that works great. Other kids, maybe it's like, okay, I'm going to need something a little bit more tangible. Maybe it's going to be a candy bar, like, hey, yeah, you get to this point, and I'm going to give you, Reese's Pieces or something like that, whatever your child likes. And as you progress toward the target, you can continue with the reinforcement, and you shaped that behavior. You shaped the performance of how he's actually playing on the piano because he's been practicing with the goal to have, a minimum amount of mistakes while he plays the piece. So that's kind of an example of successive approximations as well. So hopefully this was useful for you. I don't know if I've got it all right. I'm not a learning or behavior therapist. So if there's any errors in what I say, go ahead and make some comments, write it, clarify it, just do it nicely. Okay? Thank you.